It is October 22nd, 2016. In this video, I'm going to return to the topic of the Archons, conversation really. A relaxed, off-the-cuff, without a script conversation about this term, Archon. And as I've stated before, like others have shared, this is a term that originates in the Gnostic world, translating to rulers. And I would add that the discussion of these Archons is not something that you should respond to with fear, but with a brave spirit. And there are some with superstitions about the terms that we use and even what we look at, even if we look in the particular this particular dimension of reality, what is coexisting alongside the human world. But if we don't address the problem, how are we going to evolve out of the situation that we're in? How is ignoring the fact that somebody needs a root canal or somebody needs dental work, how is that actually going to fix the tooth by just thinking positive thoughts about something that actually needs physical action or reaction? And so I would direct you towards things like the Nag Hammadi, and this is a series of codices that were discovered in 1945 by an Arab, actually, by the name of Muhammad Ali, I believe. And so this is a copy. There are several different translations of the Nag Hammadi, interpretations of the Nag Hammadi. John Lash has provided his. I also feel that a number of people that have looked in the paranormal and area of dark ETs and Archons, for those that aren't actually in reality genuinely spiritually grounded, they can find themselves and their perceptions hijacked, and they can start spouting some incredibly prolific disinformation once they've attracted a certain following. So I think there are certain attributes of the Archons that we can discuss. People are looking for a definition of something that is really defining this fall of consciousness, fracturing of consciousness within us, that which some identify to be evil, vengeful, murderous, lying, manipulative, anti-human, yet at times speaking through humans, false God consciousness, people hallucinating, having false visions. The New Age movement, the 1980s aspects of it, more than likely directed by Archons, using the image of certain entities that humans were able to receive because of this telepathic connection between the Archons and us, also known as the mind virus. Because this is what you need to know most of all. By the alteration of human perception is the realm in which the Archons live in. And it's not necessarily because they are defined to be those playing the role or controlling those of the dark ETs, and that includes reptilians and greys. The Archons being at a higher level in the hierarchy within this world and older in nature. You go back to the Sophic myth, you see how long they've been around, how long the earth has been captured into the Archon world of inversion and holograms and all of this misdirection, this matrix, this very matrix that we are in. And we see the movie The Matrix is an allegory for the Archons. Agent Smith is an Archon that in the end, where he's going to the telephone and the homeless guy, sees him teleporting, if you will, through that telephone to the other world, that homeless person, that supposed just falling down drunk, literally started morphing into Agent Smith. Because the Archons, with their ability to view within our minds and within human consciousness, it's like the idea of being alerted, like in Lord of the Rings, where they put on the ring, and Sauron's horsemen, Archons, would come. Sauron being the head Archon, in the Gnostic term, this is the demiurge. So in the Western world, and even the world of Islam and other religions, there's the idea of a devil. Now, a lot of this has been perverted. The Old Testament's been perverted. The Nag Hammadi Garden of Eden story is about an Archon that's presented as God, as the Old Testament, kicking out Adam and Eve. And Adam and Eve really being a clone of the real spiritual feminine Eve that the demiurge looked upon into the water and grasped at and tried to sexually violate or rape or procreate with. So there's some sort of a description of something that sounds like the cloning of a human, of an Eve. and marry and make a plenty. And so maybe there's a reason why some people do not have children and do not continue a biological tie with this world. So it's a really abstract introduction to this concept. But the Archon world, what is the Archon world order? Like a cyborg, non-human intelligence that is in control of the human political situation. And a lot of the politics that are currently taking place on Earth. It's the time and place that we're in. And I think that this investigation into the Archons is something ancient, and it goes into our future by a great distance. Now, when you come across people in this world that look at things like aliens and terrestrials, and there's a lot of groups that people have said, oh, can be trusted, that are involved in channeling and presenting themselves as archangels, and I believe that there are some angels. I believe they probably operate in ways that we don't know. Some people use the term elementals. So whatever they do, but the blind faith that's been associated by those that have come under the flag of certain deities, Ashtar Command being one of them in the 1980s, and has proven itself over time through the fake predictions to in fact more likely be an Archon cover. You know, talk about the DNA upgrade. Well, why the interest in our DNA? What's wrong with us as Earthlings as it is? Now you look at, I'm talking about going to Mars and going to Moon after all these years of predictive programming to be brought up and raptured, even from the New Age rapture to the Christian rapture. But the predictive programming to go off planet to save yourself, maybe something there deep in the human consciousness within our biology that they're tapping into. There's something to this. There's something to that. And so the ways the Archons work in our life today, and as you hear about it, you think about ways that you want to start addressing the issue, or ways you can pull the plug and take your power back by simply being aware of how you're being played, by simply being aware of how as Manly P. Hall described it in his Magnetic Fields lecture, how our morality and actions dictates the power of our field. The power of our field dictates the level of protection around our body as the Earth's magnetic field and its level being determined by the activity of the core. Weak magnetic field, more asteroids coming in, more smaller level solar flares coming in to affect the power grid. Stronger magnetic field, more resistance to asteroids and things coming in to dissipate it within the field itself. And it's all connected. And it's not necessarily positive or negative. All of this is more evidence of this interconnectedness between all things. So our actions matter. Certain actions that they direct us towards through the control of the mass media, through thoughts that they implant in us, implanting thoughts to want to harm others or see people punished or beaten in other countries because they're different, taking a hold of a hive mind and trying to send it in this backwater direction, true prong effect, several prong effect in multiple directions, in fact, from the fear that is caused, for example, in the population of terrorists or people from other countries, or not having enough, or being given a disease by people that look different, and then causing fear in the people that look different, that are going into some of those areas, or people that were born into some of those areas that were born racial minorities. And all the manipulation coming from controlling the internet, controlling news, controlling information, and in some cases, like in the case of Alex Jones, who seems to be possessed by Archons, speaks like a machine, obsessed with control. He really doesn't care that he's shown you his demons. He's got the power. He's on top now. And so we can see how that being drunk with power, he doesn't seem to be showing awareness that he's actually drunk with power. He hasn't hit bottom yet. He could. He could later on. Maybe there is hope for him. Maybe they've already taken him. But he seems to be on his way to full-on Archon possession, obsession with control and domination and power, and getting away from the earth energy seems to be a consistent theme with them. They're trying to get off the earth. And let's go back to the Matrix that holds so much allegory for what we're talking about. And then we see Agent Smith, and he's talking, and he needs to get inside the mind of Morpheus. I have to get out this place. I need the key. Your mind is the key. And the other Archons walk in on Agent Smith, an Archon that again shapeshifts at will, takes different forms, can view reality through the mind of a human, and basically use a human as his own surveillance tool. Okay, and so anyway, they walk in, and I don't know whether it was the emotion he was, I got to get down to this place. I really don't like it, but I want to find the light through you. I want to find the key through you. Yes, and they're like, what are you doing? And that was significant. That was another, little bit of Gnostic knowledge there as well. And it's mirrored in Dark City the movie. Dark City the movie, he's being chased by these beings that are like these entities that are controlling this artificial reality. They're pausing time. They're going in. They're hacking minds. They're implanting thoughts, implanting dreams. We come back to this theme as well. And they want to understand something that will set them free through the hacking of this human mind, to understand something at a deeper level. And of course, there are other things going on in the movie as well, but it really centered around this particular guy. And they're like, what is it about this guy that's able to override our program? That's significant. So they're attacking this guy because he's capable of rare gifts. In this world of the inversion, where up is down, down is up, right? You've heard this. Doctors destroy health. On and on it goes. We have a misunderstanding of how karma works. We have a misunderstanding of why some people go through trouble in their lives. The New Age hijack of the traditional spiritual teachings turns something else. Well, it's your karma. And, there's a lot of people that want to say, well, karma doesn't exist past this lifetime. Like everything goes in a reset. And, I challenge you to question everything that I say, but I'm going to speak my truth as I believe it. So it'll be presented as such, not fact, but a truth that is internal to me that I feel like sharing with you. I think there are certain people out there that are serving the world of the Archons that don't necessarily have their karma handed to them right away, that are in charge of some big, big things. And they could still be on the dark side, but when they turn against that system that they're serving, and they basically turn on their masters, they can deal with some heavy, heavy shit that the Archons throw at them. But of course there could be other forces of good to help pull them out while they're getting the Archonic backlash. There's a person I knew who in 95 took out a crack house in Portland with violence because a person invested a lot of money in that crack house that stole from him. So he got revenge. You think about all the suffering all that crack caused that area in that part of North Portland in 1985, 1986, rather, into 87. That crack wave. Welcome to the jungle. It's before my time, but we've heard about it. Hell on earth was going down in urban cities in the United States during that period of 86, 87 when crack cocaine hit the streets. This guy was run around, in my opinion, serving the Archonic agenda by bringing misery and pain, enforcing certain things, being a strong man, collector for a loan shark, and being involved in other things. Other things that involved dishing out violence to others and having the ego based around the ability to dish out violence to others and being on top and being very dangerous and acting like you're something that you're not and being, and talk and playing that James Bond superhero character to the people that want you to play that character. Part of a game, you see. Till, of course, somebody wakes up and sees through the bullshit. Thinking about all the years this person got away with things till one day he took on a great source of energy. He took out a great source of energy for the Archons for who knows how many days or weeks when he took out that crack house, kicked his way in, and nearly tortured some of the people inside that crack house, leading to a prison sentence for him. All this time, all these other criminal acts, getting away with it, getting away with it, getting away with it. Oh, fuck with something of the Archons. Boom. Welcome to the pen, boy. It's time to survive. And survive he did. There's also another argument that could be made from someone observing that those were very violent times, and sometimes God of the universe, when people are protected from, say, bullets that are fired at them, that sometimes they're taken out of the game at the right time because someone was about to come gunning for them. So an intervention was needed to ensure that they remained alive, that they didn't hurt themselves, or someone hurt them, or them hurt others. So out of control. Oh, that's it. Out of the pool. Out of the pool. Out of the pool. Been through the experience myself in certain things back in 99, 2000, where it was a out of the pool intervention. You're being stopped in your tracks. Time to think about your actions. Time to think about how you're treating yourself and what you're doing with your life. So I would also encourage people to understand there are certain people, it is their destiny to expose what could be happening to our consciousness and how this hijacking is taking place. How do we protect ourselves? And by doing so and unlocking minds, you could be doing good, but you can also fall under attack. And you can run around unprotected and being a good person and doing the right things, but not, making poor lifestyle choices or negative thoughts, just enough negative thoughts that ends up somehow breaking, as I move here as the light moves in, a field of protection. Fear, trauma, field of protection. You can be on the right path, and you can have your field of protection disrupted. Disrupt, so it could be attacked, programmed, etherically implanted, false tapes, false lies, affecting bubbles, desire, fear, things like that. All that affects the bubble. You get in, they're trying to create a domino effect. I've always said for years, it's either getting healthier and it's getting sicker, and that's how it is with psychic protection. Certain things like obsessing on physical desires, focusing on women, sexuality, and for women it could be certain men, certain things outside of themselves, seeking that enlightenment through the physical form. Brings us down to this physical level. Yes, may seem a little grounding. It's also a little trapping. All these fears now, technology, just so concentrated, the mind control. The article I wrote in 2005, Mass Media Mind Control through Network TV. On a higher level, you have the Archons behind this network TV mind control and the subliminals. And how do they do it? How am I speculating that they're doing this? Somehow through this connection that they're making with human minds and artists and certain people. The idea is to hack enough human minds to where they're doing the biddings of the Archons and they're hurting other human beings. And the illusions of separation is key. Certain lies, certain big time lies, like those people that are from over there and are of a certain genotype, they are bored and want to come and kill you, so we have to hurt them premeditatively. And false flags are used and other events are used to justify the unjustifiable. And there are people that have shown throughout history this type of sacrificial energy. And it is like a big ritual. It is like a mass death ritual. And as we go into this next solar cycle to incorporate the sun into my discussion on the Archons, there are cycles of war and peace that Alexander Javinsky of Russia discovered back in 1918. And for whatever reason, the oligarch in Russia imprisoned him for many years and made him do scientific work in the coal mines. There you go, bitch. That's what you get for trying to get us to think outside the box and look at the sun. Now, what were the real reasons why he did so much time? I don't know. But the level of his discovery was significant, and still enough people haven't taken it seriously. I heard about through Burl Payne and other researchers and authors, discussing, you type into the internet, the sun and war cycles, or cycles of war and peace. And so this data from the Chinese sunspot counts goes back at least 2,500 years. And if you look at those aspects of war that have been staged by those power elite behind the scenes, and knowing the energy and the consciousness that they really were channeling and serving this whole time to create those events, it's not just a few Rothschilds and Rockefellers are just trying to hand off power from generation to generation. They and other groups not mentioned are being used as human vessels by robot control, remote control, like a robot, like a cyborg. It's not like whether someone's born a reptilian or not, in my opinion. It's getting them to a certain frequency where you can get in and hack. Are certain bloodlines more easier to control than others? More than likely, I think that's why they're actually trying to get rid of certain Semites on the planet that, left to their own devices, might be able to make some positive change in this world, and other groups. And instead, they are working with a certain reptilian programming here with an aspect of white Americans to get all up in arms about this political stuff, and they're not up in arms about the millions dead. That's reptilian. That's messed up. That's fucked up. That's a consciousness hijack. A human being actually has feelings and recognizes when something's wrong. They're already on their way to turning us into all of those, all of you that have no feeling for all these things that have gone on. That's robotic. And so there are actual behavioral adjustments through aspects that they've changed in the environment, which is a long list from diet, the Monsanto, and all of that experimentation, and the aspartame and the fluoride, and all these things. It's a combination, plus the trauma, plus the video games and the stimuli, and the digital TV and all the subliminals you're exposed to from that. And of course the flashing banners on YouTube.com and all these official messages that they want to womp, 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 womp. Now, with the solar flares being a natural electromagnetic boost, it's boosting all that's already there. Cell phones, talked about this, the microwaves, the unnatural electromagnetic pollution, that person's like their whole field has changed. Their field around their body has changed because it's not in a natural state. It's open to multiple vulnerabilities, and certain things are now according with them. And that's the troubling reality that a lot of humans don't understand about the spirit world, is how many tools of the Archons, because they're overseeing a lot of things, and spiritual parasites. But spiritual parasites on autopilot that aren't very intelligent, but they're operating on another level where they're siphoning off the energy from human beings. And some people use the term ankle biters. There's different phrases. Some people that are clairvoyant see people with certain animals attached to them. Sometimes it's believed to be something about their karma or something that was in their past or their bloodline. But this is believed to actually be happening to a lot of people. And I remember asking Eve Lorgan when I talked to her, the author of The Love Bite, and that's the whole thing about and read that for more, the alien interference, or I say Archon interference, in human relationships to literally divert people away from positive relationships and keep them in negative relationships, or as I also say, master-slave relationships, or relationships where the dominator control freak is being loved or supported because of some crazy reason. So all this is really, really interesting when you start going down the rabbit hole, talking to Eve Lorgan, asking her, so how many people, percentage of the population, do you think are affected by this Archon love bite? Dark Cupid. Or how many are not, rather. And, I think we both agree, and perhaps many of you do as well, that the majority are not thinking with their higher consciousness. In general, in any case whatsoever, whatever question I'm asking. They're following some sort of a prototype, some sort of a program, the programming. And I've always said there's some sort of programming that is of the wireless, but is not limited to the wireless internet, but is of the wireless spectrum. In other words, a dark grid. Some people have seen the dark grid, having certain psychedelic experiences. I haven't done a lot of that, psychedelic experiences, but they go back to like the year 2098. And because it was the first time, it was the most powerful. And the first time was the most powerful, eye-opening experience. And I'll tell you, taking 2 hits of acid and seeing, no, you don't want to be in the dark grid. The dark grid, worshiping violence. And this person also that was instrumental in my youth, that was almost leading me astray with the wrong values as to what a man is and where it comes from. And making yourself up to be something that you're not. And basically some bad examples that I think he was showing all of this dark grid. Never saw the dark grid before I took acid, and then all of a sudden there they are in purple, black trench coats, demons with all this reptilian energy. And it's like, that's what that world is. It's like something was showing me, you want to get close to that world? This is what you're going to get close to. Do you understand? This is what's going on here in this trap of souls, in this whirlwind of souls, this planet, this soul prison. You want to get trapped here? You want to go down certain paths and keep repeating this over and over and over and over? And I knew early on there was a certain reason why I was supposed to go on the path of speaking about these things, because, couple brief periods where I did something wrong or committed a crime, I was firmly brought into the system, if you will, and corrected, whether it be in my young years or later on towards 18, 19, because by a certain point in my 20s, I was already meant to be on this path and speaking about these things. And I'll tell you what, that's how I learned about psychic attack. It's through my life experiences living in Portland. And seeing how when the solar cycle started up around 2009 and 10, I noticed how certain people were becoming nastier and more resistant to the truth, and how the solar cycle, for example, in Portland, there's a lot of unnatural energy and supernatural stuff that's actually boosted by the solar cycles. It's more of that nasty spirit that started to emerge in a world where so many people talked about a collective shift in consciousness. I saw the opposite, and I know that I experienced the opposite. I know that I experienced more of a positive reception when I started out when George W. Bush was the president, how things shifted when Obama was the president, and other things not related to Obama, but more things happening regarding to the shift of the epoch. And I think with these shifts of epochs and these solar cycles, you have various archons and spirits that come and relieve their post and maintain the post, and even over certain areas. Like Portland having its own archon spirit or series of them, or those that are appointed by higher archons rather, if not archons themselves. And who knows how many. But there is obviously interface between ourselves and others that is scanning minds and programming minds and using human beings to do its bidding, using human suffering as a sustenance, but also knowing their weakness and not seeing them as all-powerful just because we're addressing it, but now looking for their vulnerabilities, realizing that we're looking at something that is dependent on humans being in a lower state of consciousness, not in a higher state of consciousness. That is anti-family, anti-unity. It's prosexuality when it's perverse. It's anti-sexuality when it's love. And you start looking at how things really are operating. It's, we see how America's been used, for example, to destroy itself. This is all an Archon blueprint. We could see how many people are being, encouraged to be hateful towards immigrants and see them all as terrorists. And by these implanted thoughts that you're seeing in the fake news web and the mainstream media, and also on the spiritual plane, there's mind control where people are programmed in your sleep. They're trying to alter human free will to keep humans that are now accessible to information about their soul's journey. They want to we got to stop this. We have to stop this awakening that's taking place amongst these humans regarding their soul's journey and their power. We got to keep them in this matrix. We need this type of a sustenance. We could see issues with regard to the sun being a fuel source for all things, including UFOs that have been seen around the sun, and how when the sun boosts up the human body, if we're directed towards negative emotions and hurting others in war instead of making love and building things, and I'm going to say going off grid and writing poetry and making music and having really a good time with that energy. They want to direct, and they launch the wars. Redirect that powerful energy that we're emitting naturally. It's like you could just, you see those cameras, that heat vision. There's a human, there's heat. Well, we are like that to them, and things that fly in the sky, if you will, that serve the Prince of Darkness, or the Prince of Darkness itself. And with certain emotions are emitting pain, things like that, rage and anger, it's fed upon by those particular entities that are using that for whatever reason. This matrix is as a sustenance, a matrix, some sort of an artificial soul machine that we're in. So, of course, we realize when we're being played, meditation comes in to help us maintain that protective field in line with proper action. Of course, certain things, lifestyles, chain smoking, eating lots of unhealthy food, other things that we know to be unhealthy that we do to excess. Sometimes we do that and we go back to being healthy. I've done that recently. Smoking is something that many people believe is sacred because the Indians did it. I would say that the things that we smoke, and we get the habit of smoking that tobacco, even American spirits, is anything like what the Indians were smoking, nor is it being done in the same way. So, it's important for us to be honest with ourselves and make room for improvement. It doesn't mean that we have to be perfect, but to be on the path of living healthier lifestyles so that we can protect ourselves. And speaking from experience, you get a lot of experience putting yourself on video and speaking out against what they're doing to other people, because it causes a rift in the matrix. It causes at times energy backlash. So for anyone that's going to speak out against what the Archons are doing without fear, they have to work to keep their own backyard clear in whatever way they can. And that is for the individual to come to. They may have a mentor or somebody in their own life that may be God speaking to them. But I've also understood that the archonic influence that'll come in and tell you you don't know anything. You don't have gnosis. You don't have truth. You're not going to make an impact. Everything that you believe is false. Transhumanism is good. We should merge with a machine. I felt like I got this argument from somebody the other day, and I'm like, whoa. I'll tell you what, the last thing that I'm willing to believe is that higher consciousness or source is speaking through you, my good man. I'm actually very concerned. Of course, I didn't tell him this, but this is a real situation that I'm looking at, when the person closest to you shifts and goes into a pro-transhumanistic, argument about merging with machine, and everything you're saying is false and Archons don't exist. It's like, who's really speaking here? And are you aware of your own thoughts? And are your thoughts your own? And isn't all this very, very interesting? Going back to the dream invasions or the mind hijacks, it's widely believed that the Archons also use humans for energy, siphon energy, by using them in the astral plane when they find them wandering around. And there's a number of ways they can do this. Sexuality is one. You walk into a room, there's a sex scene going on, and your energy is already emitted because perhaps you're a high energy person and that just happens naturally. So it's not that you should be guilty that you have those feelings, or maybe there's an erection or some other lubrication is taking place that's sexual in nature, and then you find yourself in an astral plane and it's like, come over here, and it seems like it's legit. And maybe you've been in a situation where something sexual is trying to tempt you, and then you advance towards it, and then you back up going, oh no. And I found myself in certain situations like that, where they've tried to zap me into an astral artificial realm to simply drain the energy. And I noticed this followed the smoking of cigarettes. Like periods where I wasn't smoking and then I just did a binge. And perhaps there's an evil Knievel aspect of Alex Ansary that's doing all types of things with his auric field through the act of smoking, then quitting, then smoking, then quitting, then smoking. Oh boy, if you were to photograph that, would you have all types of, it'd be like the fucking spike thing from Beetlejuice to the flowing protective, like back and forth. So perhaps there's an aspect of me that enjoys that exercise of the aura, and perhaps there's things that I'm cleansing during some of those periodic smokes, but also opens yourself up to other influences and ways that your energy can be drained. That can lead to other things. And I use the dream as an example of a chain reaction, how one thing can lead to another, to where someone's tired enough and they have just enough chemicals to keep them awake, just enough, their auric field just open enough for them to be targeted, to be put into an astral, and again, not just sexual, but you could just be in a situation where you're running, or, where you're going from one door to another door, or the phone is ringing, and you're like, hello? And you pick it up, hello? And it just goes back and forth. Or you find yourself back at your old job, and there's your boss, and your boss is looking at you, and you're looking at your boss, and you're like, yeah, I'm here to work today. Or, a situation where you're on the run, and you just killed some lady, and, you're a criminal, and you're in a situation where you're emitting lots of fear because you don't remember killing this person yet. The body's like right there. This is like horrible. And you wake up guilty wondering whether you did it or not. And who knows where else this goes. But another way the Archons grab that energy is through the dream realms. Jumping out of smart meters. Something's going on with the smart meters and the technological grid that they're setting up that I think is an interface. And again, especially with geometric storms, for things to come back and forth. Especially if they have someone focused on death and destruction and too much pornography and hardcore drugs and other things. There's like a whole demographic of our society where they've got them like hooked on all this shit, and not martial arts, but the UFC. And yeah, I absolutely condemn the UFC as a whole. It is a poor man's blood sport, if you will, regardless of whether or not the first blood sport ever happened with the supposed legendary Frank Dukes, which is another conversation. But we don't see that display. I will tell you that martial arts is tied to psychic protection. When you are moving and you are breathing, and there's certain body movement exercise I've described and demonstrate aspects of circular motion, but even striking. And people see my heavy bag and assume like I'm some angry person that strikes, and like these are like almost, these are blunted intellects as far as I am concerned. Because I remember reading some book on karate a long time ago, never punch in anger, like after I already knew this truth internally. And I appreciate when I come across books where they talk about the deeper spiritual side of the martial arts. And so when you are, for example, doing some of these palm strikes, and we have these energy centers in our palm, we have this field around us. When you're involved in breathing and moving certain energy centers, you're strengthening your field. This is not about bloodthirsty fantasies about murdering people and killing the village. It's an art when you are moving and your breath is in sync, and you're going through the exercise. Qigong has its own waist twisting exercises, which is there to activate the qi. Again, also chakras in the feet, okay, and the hands. So the moving around, not just the center, and the being balanced. All of those things activate these energy centers within us. And by not being in this angry place, but being in this place where the energy is flowing and being without effort, it's an activation. It is like some sort of a crystal activation amongst your own mind, body, and spirit. This is something that is not taught, it is not shown. So the Archons invert things. Okay, get away from the good sexuality. Here's the bad sexuality. Get away from the good martial arts, the spiritual connection, the meditation, and here's a bloodbath. Here's street fights on YouTube. Here, now when people think martial arts, and they see you, they're going to think you're in anger. They're going to be afraid of you and throw negativity at you because you're expressing yourself. Like, there are people that probably, like I had this one guy, hey Alex, your videos are really, it's like you're trying to be threatening. I'm going to do this Woody Allen impression, save videos and record them and send them to you. I don't know why you don't go back to the city. I want you to come see me. I want you to come see me. And there are various people that have developed obsessions with this channel. But what it has shown me is there's something about this content that you need to hear. That's why you're tuned in. That's why there are people that have had serious Archon hijacking issues that have tried to work their way into my life to create a disturbance. One of the red flags that I have when I deal with some of these individuals, when they're talking about everything you say, man, about the Archons, yeah, man, and then they develop this obsession with me. And I realize because they're being courted by the Archons, and there's something that I'm talking about that is helping them, it doesn't mean that they've just freed themselves from those Archons. So getting entangled with people that can be really, people that are heavily infected. And by the way, you, I, all of us, we have to do away from this ego trip place of center. Oh, I'm not affected by Archons. Oh, you just completely did. Most human beings at some point in their life has been infected by the spirit of evil that is occupying the earth at this time. You're a human being. Somehow or another, you, like I, didn't exit this matrix. So there's going to be temptation. There's going to be times when we fall, where we're super lustful, or we use someone, or we steal something, or we make a mistake. Could be in our childhood, could be in adulthood, where we think about, angry thoughts and jealousy thoughts and things that, in reality, enable them to control us. And it's important to understand this and not be stuck in some sort of an ego trip. They have convinced a lot of people that the only thing for them is to live in these giant cities. And they put enough luxuries in the city, and the cheap Wi-Fi and the access to other sex partners and places to go out and eat and places to go buy your food, whether you're on food stamps or you do it with money. Just, you don't have to actually bring that food to life. Here, just continue to work and slave and be an energy source and create energy for us, and sometimes forms of life. And if not that, and you don't have a family, then you're a source of energy if you're sitting there in pain, wallowing over your drink with all types of entities corded to you. Either way, as far as they're concerned, they win, where they have certain people procreating and certain people not. They'll get their energy one way or another. So we're some sort of an free energy farm for them. And it doesn't mean that there isn't a meaning to existence. It doesn't mean that there's no purpose in questioning what is this matrix. There's obviously something about us that's emitting something that's powerful. And energy is energy. So the solar flares, for example, amplify the energy within the human body, the testosterone. Men can decide, you know what, we're just going to fucking topple the system. We're going to go back to basics. We're going to use all of a sudden our testosterone and start moving things in a different direction. Well, the mind has to be directing the wild body. But if the mind is hijacked, and boom, tariffs hit you on 9/11, or boom, this threat's coming at you right now, boom, then they can put people into autopilot. And their out of balance energy, testosterone, male warriors, also ways to control women, go out and kill, go out and destroy. Of course, we see before 9/11 all the propaganda, all the wrestling, all the, action shows, Schwarzenegger, True Lies, terrorist predictive programming, Chuck Norris, Missing in Action, Sergeant Slaughter, playing Iraqi, bow down to Iraq, to make people angry. I mean, all that was like overt uses of propaganda. And now it's far more obvious and covert and subliminal, and happening in ways in which people don't realize it's propaganda. It's fake news that's being put out there as real news. So the Archons are using the internet, which is the exact same thing or medium that human beings can use to share light on what the Archons are doing. So it's a double-edged sword. And we need to realize that we need to input the internet, positive information, accurate information as to what's going on, and to do it without fear and realize this is our calling. And when we do it with fear, when we allow ourselves to be infected with the psychosis that we're being gang-stalked, which is an Archon card trick, which I'm exposing now at this part of the day. You'll have someone that thinks that there's 50 people that are stalking them. They're living the Truman Show. Everybody in their life is an actor. In reality, something's happened to their magnetic field around their body, their auric field, and they've been infected in their consciousness to such a degree, and it could be lifestyle choices or something that's allowing that door to be open to where they're still being courted. And that entity or entities are sending them energy or beaming them energy into their consciousness to where they're in this experience to where everybody around them is a part of the conspiracy. And it is almost like a super paranoid extreme version of They Live. And in worst case scenarios, yeah, you have people that go on shooting sprees. Now, a lot of this is manufactured. Or there are some people that go on violent fits because, like Matrix, Neo in the Matrix, waking up going, no, this can't be. No. Yeah, you have some people that are so thrown out of balance because they're not spiritually grounded. They aren't doing positive things in their life for themselves. And so they look into the abyss of darkness and the aliens, and all of a sudden they're becoming infected by it. And so, again, there's a certain amount of people that have claimed to be heavily infected by these beings that have been dangerous for me to have close contact with. And I'll also say there are times in which, going back to how the current understanding of karma is quite a bit perverted by today's New Age movement. That it's all in direct relation to our actions and it's instantaneously. Not necessarily. You can be punished for doing good work on this planet and then be punished by people that tell you that you deserve it because somehow or another you created bad karma for yourself. That's why you're homeless. That's why you don't have this, or that's why this happened to that person. And you'll notice they'll be selective with that karma. They'll in some cases, you see a woman who's raped. It's a horrible thing. Horrible, horrible. You see other situations where men are hurt or others are hurt. Well, it must have been their karma. They deserved it. So there's double standards in which people are not actually trying to be in an honest light of truth. They don't see any problem with their own manipulation of spiritual teachings so that it fits their current understanding. So they're just doing as thou wilt. They're not trying to be in harmony with natural law or I almost said international law, universal law. They're just doing whatever they want and using their powers of magic to create for themselves physical things and other people. Pleasures of the flesh. When they could be directing some of that magical energy towards helping this world shift forward. Because it's in our hands. It is in our hands. And so it is because it's in our hands that the Archons are there to try to shift people into thinking that, oh no, we have to look outside of ourselves. We look at the Gnostic texts and we can see this demiurge Archon is more than likely the entity that is portraying himself, and this is very possible, as Allah in the Quran and Jehovah in the Bible and other particular entities. But we look at the Old Testament, Judaism, we look at Quran, and perhaps there's many, many others. We're just starting with the major religions. And with reference to the Quran, you know, why there's so much archonic interest in the Middle East, I do not know. Or dark ET interest in the Middle East, it is obviously taking place. If it's reptilian coming from that plane and they're controlled by the Archons, there's obviously this racial thing taking place. I certainly don't know exactly what's going on. I can see this racial thing taking place. And that in this physical world, there is this war on the Semitic people. And there's this racial psychosis that they've created. And what I've said for years, whether I've talked about the Archons or not, is that they want to keep us in this illusions of separation, so they keep us here. Keep us here. Keep us here in this matrix. So this is soul prison. I believe, at this point, without doubt, that the Archons are maintaining, and that these world wars are really controlled by Archons using human beings as hosts to create as much human suffering. So to be incarnated back into this realm to begin with indicates that at some point in our soul's history, we weren't able to get past the Archons back through the pillars, back into heaven, back into source. The Archon gatekeepers. Some have warned about the light, suggesting that the Archons are there to be gatekeepers, to trap, like a fly to fly paper, trap humans back in this world. Here, come over here, come into this light. Here's your mama, here's your grandpa, here's your archangel. Let me give you a big, okay, we got them. They're back. And it's very, very possible. But this is what we're seeing. This is what we're seeing on the planet with these staged events. An entrapment of souls during a period in which there is a great deal of souls on the planet, billions. So at a period in time where there are the most human beings, it could be also a time where there is the maximum potential for the soul's evolution. But all that energy that could be projected towards the soul's evolution, if it's siphoned in these other areas in which it can be captured by the riders in the wind, the spirits of the wind, if you will, and the spirits of the earth that may masquerade as dark ETs, that may masquerade as gods and creators, that are in fact earth-based spirits, using sleight of hand, using certain technologies to make it seem that there's something that they're not, whether they cause great fear or to cause humans to worship them. There is obviously something riding shotgun with the human consciousness. And as far as I'm concerned, this is far more important than a studying whether the earth is flat or not, screaming Hillary for president, much less voting for Donald Trump. And seeing those few people that are both into studying the Archons and voting for Donald Trump, that's a perfect example of how you could start down this road of discovering these things and still support the world of the Archons that promote the illusion of separation, that basically promotes racism. John Lash, on the Red Ice Creations, John Lash being one of the most known speakers on the Archons, is saying certain things on the air that white people are less affected by the Archons than Semitic people or Middle Eastern people. And one of the reasons why is because they eat pork. And I was just sitting here scratching my head at his white genocide Archon podcast, and it was all white people are the victims, but these people over here, they're to blame for it because they're coming over to it completely lacking the history of bombardment of some of these regions, the Semitic lands, Middle Eastern lands. And to have a racial supremacy angle to it. Oh, white people are less, pale people, Europeans are less prone to the Archon hijack. And actually most people believe the opposite. I'm sorry to tell you. But the actual opposite. And I think there's a reason why they've tried to turn Americans towards so much darkness. Now I believe that they control nearly all the racial groups. I don't believe that anyone is necessarily more insusceptible than others, but I do believe that there are such a thing as actual earth bloodlines and things that are not bloodlines that are native to the earth. And a lot of us are bloodlines that have mixed and mixed and mixed many times. There's a mix of different lines within us. Some of them more native to the earth, some of them potentially brought here in certain genetics and blood types and lines. And it's like they have a surveillance database, the Archons that is, that have used the humans to create the surveillance database. So they know, via of course cell phone surveillance, which they've got in most all the hands of the women in our society and many of the men, but it's especially the women. So that those that they want to keep observation of are tracked at all times, if they don't already have some other tracking technology within them already, be it physical or etheric. The cell phone is a very powerful tracking piece of technology that is capable of providing a lot more organized data and information by man-made software programs. Again, so we look at where man's consciousness is, and as you've heard from others, they want to make our mind like them, like theirs. And if you're not grounded, and I don't believe that John Lash was obviously, I don't believe that he was on the spiritual path. No one on the spiritual path would start spouting the illusions of separation talk that John Lash was, which is dovetailing a lot of things the white supremacists are saying. You know, hail the white race, down with the mixed race babies and the darker skins. So you can look into the abyss and you can become the abyss if even temporarily you lose yourself and you forget yourself. And there's a gray line, fine line between being spiritually fit and being spiritually sick. Here's another example. David Icke launches The People's Voice, and he uses such poor judgment and poor intuition that he surrounds himself by people that stabbed him in the back, and in the end, he blames them for the missing millions that people donated to what they believed was David Icke's media platform. The dude just got done written a book on Archons like this big. Instead of focusing on reptilians, he's showing actually this Gnostic understanding that he previously didn't know a lot about. Very much is in support of what he was saying, you know, in Children of the Matrix and other books, regardless of your views on Icke. That there's a parallel. And the parallel to the Matrix movie. Again, Matrix of the Children, his 2003 book, which is using Matrix quotes to describe the reptilian control over humans, easily renamed Archonic, which is actually higher than the reptilians on the scale, and is believed to be using the reptilians, the Greys, and other groups. Okay. So that book, nearly 1,000 pages, and then just this massive also backlash with The People's Voice. And it could have been that as well. A combination of the energy backlash from the Archons made possible by breaks in David Icke's protective field and his consciousness going from insusceptible in some ways to very susceptible. Oh, Susan Bolton, come over here. Oh, Sean, my webmaster. And then all these people turning Archon on him and shifting. So a mix of him doing good and a backlash, but something happening within him that he needs to take responsibility for, to where he made the wrong decisions and actually could have had other people as his allies that wouldn't have backstabbed him. That David Icke consciousness wasn't there to see those people. He was looking elsewhere. So that's what the Archons do. So I'm going to conclude today's video, which is running about an hour, by going over some of the basics of meditation that have been shared with me by a friend. There are variants to this to learn about grounding, which is centering yourself to the center of the earth and releasing pain, releasing images, things you might be stuck on. And it's a release of programming and to flush your energy. As above, so below, as below, so above, bringing in cosmic energy or galactic energy, or some say galactic center, bringing in solar energy, bringing in your own energy, but not channeling, but just tapping into that energy that is there in the ether. And then bringing it down and bringing it up. And there's different ways of doing this. But as a lifestyle, like martial arts or bodybuilding, to take time, a few minutes, breathing deeply. And there, of course, there's breathing with your belly. Instead of breathing shallow, breathe deep. Bring your consciousness into your body as you ground, as you shields up as you bring those forces, those cosmic and earth elements together. Visualization of it just being automatic and being something that comes natural to you, not something that, requires super focused ritual or anything like that. More or less just letting go and letting the process occur and being in a natural, healthy state. Instead, most people are automatically in a natural, unhealthy state. We want to restore it to a natural, healthy state. Put aside that negative self-talk that says you can't focus for any periods of time. Be able to focus in a busy intersection, in a busy city, in a skyscraper, and it actually takes a bit of focus to stay spiritually grounded, living off the grid, because there's distractions on the internet. Just because I'm not in a major city doesn't mean that there aren't distractions within my own consciousness or within that consciousness of the web. So like certain physical activities, certain practices, some people are, backpackers and skiers. But to be in a state of meditation where you bring yourself to that place, you might feel yourself lit up and maybe something trying to activate those emotions within you, trying to attack you from within your own consciousness. All of a sudden you're filled with anger and you don't know why, or filled with great lust and passion and you don't know why. And filled with other emotions, and there's no thought attached to those emotions. And you might find yourself, as I found myself, unconsciously matching that beamed energy that's into you, the pictures that make sense for those to connect. See, so there's a way they do try to get us to, by screwing with our free will, our perceptions, perceive things a certain way or feel things a certain way, so our brain states in a certain state of frequency, and that can really cause a lot of problems for us. So psychic protection is a big concept. It's times like this where we should be owning our energy and using our energy for more mindful purposes, not letting our consciousness be hijacked and focused on all this anger and fear that is obviously precious energy that potentially could be used to create some amazing things right now. Break down some amazing structures. I believe that if all the human beings were linked together consciously, we can take down this dark grid. We can be a serious force to be reckoned with. One mind alone, is capable. If you look at the remote viewers and the testimony of Ingo Swann and others that have worked for the U.S. government, that come with all kinds of information that have, in some cases, turned out to be true. Burl Payne talks about an experiment in 1978 during a geomagnetic storm that there was some sort of a satellite that went dead or a space center, and there were certain collective consciousness experiments conducted where they align their consciousness to affect the same thing at the same time. And so, I want to talk about, as we end this video, the collective of those watching this video, putting their minds together when you hear this video, to take down a part of this dark grid, to do something positive, to move this old energy out and bring in something anew, through your own spirit, through your own voice, and through your own intuition. In conclusion, we can see how the imagination is very powerful, and so it is through the hijack of human consciousness that they are trying to get us to create our reality to be a certain way. Because if we had access to all the information and we were in our true power, we would be directing our energy and focus towards those actions that fulfill us, that help us, that help others, and in the end transform this world. So in a way, we do create our own reality, certain things. It's just that people have a very elementary view of this in the law of attraction. It's almost like a beginning stage, like a small child, like, gimme toy. I got t-shirts say gimme, 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 gimme. And people are misusing the law of attraction towards just material things and gain. And that's how the Archons can use people and direct them to the law of attraction based on materialism, because there's karmic consequences with simply being a greedy person. But to actually use our powers towards changing the world as we know it to something more positive, they work day and night to create situations, thoughts, energies, and circumstances to turn us away from that and the people that are doing that. And so my advice to you is that we have to override this program. As they say, be the change that we want to see in the world. That's what the Archons are trying to prevent. Okay, it is that world of illusion, and it is that world of unconsciousness. It is that falling of consciousness that has taken place within mankind. It is that broken man and it is that broken woman. Okay, and so there is an opposite of that that is you in your full potential. It isn't an archetype. It is you as a human being, being that superhuman if you're living in your human potential. And that is what I'm going to continue to promote. And we'll end it there.